do just in
We're
15,
we're off.
20 years.
Hold
I'm
on.
dropping frames.
Yeah, the stream just went
Sorry,
offline.
man. Sorry,
Hold
Randy.
your thought
No
for
worry.
a second.
No worry.
Oh, yep. Is it back?
All right, hang on.
And it looks like we're back.
It's loading video. I don't have the live icon yet. Yeah, we're on.
Yep, we're back.
Sweet.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry,
so
guys.
that's the first time that's
so
happened.
do you need to ask the question again?
Yeah, I'll start over by asking the question again.
Yeah.
But Steven San Marco asked over on the G Tribe site, how did you get started with computers, and did anything such as sci-fi TV shows get you interested at all?
Well, I've always been interested in computers. I remember when I was in 8th grade, had a week in the computer lab, just 1 week. This is a long, long time ago. And I got sick and I missed like 3 days of the 5, and I was pretty bummed. And I had a feeling at that point when my week was up that, there's something to this. And I let it go. And I ended up not getting into actually programming until I was 28. So if I had just turned around and went into that class and asked for some more time, things might have been different. But I shared earlier in the show how I got started with that. Actually, did I? That was before we went live, wasn't it?
No, I believe that you shared it.
Okay, all right. So basically, I was a machinist and wanted to write software for that industry, and I got introduced to someone who owned a video game company and got a tour and decided right then and there that that's what I wanted to do. And so they told me to learn assembly language if I wanted to work there. And so I went out and got a book and sat down and just started page 1 and persevered. And that's how I ended up getting into programming video games. Sci-fi didn't have anything to do with it, but I tell you that, I mean, what we have coming up in the future, technology-wise, is going to be pretty much sci-fi. I mean, we're going to have robots in our environment. It'll be common in 20 years from now. We'll start seeing it much, in 10, 12 years. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a little bit scary because, they can be hacked. And they will be hacked. And
my insulin pump could be hacked. I mean, they figured out that a while back. Like, basically, there was like 12-year-olds that could hack insulin pumps if they had the remote features on. Yeah. That was sort of scary when I learned that.
Yep. You need to have Black Hat or something in there, looking at the code and making sure it's secure. Yeah. But, so sci-fi is really cool, but it did not have influence on me getting started in programming. That said, in a few years from now, that I hope to be in a position where I can use my mechanical background along with software and start creating some cool robots. That
actually answered one of my questions. Perfect.
Go for it.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions was, do you think you'll delve into the hardware development again, or do you prefer the software side? But I think that statement just answered that perfectly.
Well, I'm not a hardware engineer, but I've made probably, I'm going to guess, somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000 different parts that other engineers designed. So, I know how things fit together, and I've seen a lot on that side. And I have ideas. So that, along with the software and some of the people I've met, I think we can do some really cool robots.
I look forward to it.
Like
I call dibs on beta testing.
like the kind where you ask it to fetch you a beer, and it comes back and tells you what we have and makes a recommendation. And then when it's done. Awesome. When it's done, it goes and changes the oil in your car and mows the lawn, and
that would be so perfect.
I need that and one that can repair tires. That would be amazing.
All right, we'll put that in version 1. Yeah.
So, all right, let's take a question from the chat here. Early on, Waffleopolis asked, "What has your experience been with Asterisk? And how has that platform worked for an in-game voice over internet protocol solution? Also, sorry. Second half of the question wasn't for.
That was for
was already answered. So.
Okay. I've set up before I took a break from video games for a while and I started a high-speed internet service.
Cool.
DSL, ADSL2. We had access to fiber toward the end. Unfortunately, it was nationwide. Unfortunately, it didn't make it, but I learned a lot from it here. And one of the things I did I did play around with Asterisk, and I set up in a data center. I had a hosted voice over IP box, which I was using for my own phone system for a while, and it's Asterisk is very powerful. Haven't played with it since I think it was version 4, if I remember right. So it's been a few years. It's very cool, very powerful, is my experience with it. The stuff you can do with it is pretty amazing. I have not used it for an in-game VoIP client only because the games I've worked on haven't needed it, or someone else has been handling that. However, that's always in the back of my mind, is that how cool that would work. I think it'll work. Um, I think it'll work well, for that matter.
Well, I
I
hope
don't know
that
if there's
answers.
something more specific.
I hope that answered his question. He did have another one asking you to elaborate a little bit. Uh, he said, when you say something like templates are slow, at what metric is slow being defined for that? In case of the modern day program, we're talking what, milliseconds?
That's all relevant. I mean, really, really, with any game right now or any software you write, the processors are fast enough now that it's not. You need to use good practices when you're writing all of your code, but you really can't sweat uh, uh, performance too much until you profile, because you may find something where there's a way you can write some code that's 10 times faster, but it's going to take you 3 times as long, and that code is only called, it's only using 1/10% of the CPU in your game. So in that case, it's more of making sure, the more important thing is make sure that the code is robust, and then optimize the code that really matters. Like, when you look in your profile and you find there's a routine, let's say it's doing a transform, and it's being called so many times that it's generating 10 or 20% of your CPU usage. Well, then that would be the place where you go in and optimize, not a routine that is hardly showing up. That said, it's not an excuse to write bad code, but there's so much code to write that you can't you can't spend all your time optimizing code that's hardly being called at all. So when you're talking about metrics of what's slow, um, you really can't quantify that, because it really depends uh, on where that code's on how much that code is being used, really. So it comes down to, with a game, is there's a big difference between running at 60 frames per second or higher, or running at 15. And so but the difference between being able to run at 60 or being able to run at 62 is not really a factor, because you're for aesthetics, you're going to want to sync to VBlank, and you're going to want to lock it to 60 to match the refresh rate of your monitor. So not everyone does that right now, but it's the best. I don't know if I'm answering your question. You can't quantify that in milliseconds or nanoseconds.
We'll see if he posts anything on it. And if he does, I'll be sure to let you know.
Great.
We got another one over here from.
I'm not avoiding your question though. That's really
Yeah.
With-
Trying to decide which
That's
one
what I
to ask
posted in the
next.
stream, in the
That's
chat,
the one
actually,
that's
was
the
that it was a
most
relative
fun.
measure.
A relative
Yeah.
measure. He says
Yeah.
it pretty much covers it, so we'll move on. Alex asked, I'd like to know, does your knowledge ruin games for you? Or allow you to enjoy them more?
That's actually a really good question.
And he put in parentheses that it's probably a rubbish question, but
No, it's not.
No,
And
it's a
before
good
you
question.
answer it, it's a good question because when I went to culinary school and I learned cooking, it ruined restaurants for me because I know how the kitchens work and how clean they need to be. And when I sit at restaurants, I evaluate everything and I can't enjoy my meal. So this is actually a really good question, turning it onto games now. So go ahead. I'm curious to hear what you say.
Okay, so I do have an answer for this one. It's the same as when you study filmmaking, or and then you watch a film, or you study music. You analyze music because you're a musician and you want to, analyze, like I've done in the past, where you listen to a song and you go, oh, listen to that dub, how they dubbed in there, and like Stairway to Heaven at the very end, where Robert Plant holds out that long, powerful note. If you listen closely, you'll actually hear that he there are several dubs in the middle of holding out that note. He does not hold out the note that long. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Oh
So
man.
so you can, but when you watch and just doing video games, that applies even to watching animated features, because animated features are all 3D, and so you can get caught up watching a Disney film, and get caught up on analyzing every aspect of, oh, what are they doing there, look at that, look at that technique they're doing here. But ultimately, you just have to have two different modes you go into. One is I'm just here, gonna I'm just gonna watch this movie, I'm just gonna listen to this music and feel it, or I'm gonna play this game and have fun with it, and get into it, and and get absorbed into it and be in the zone, versus you step back and you analyze it for all the technical, what's going on with it. So so the answer is, it can ruin it for you, but it doesn't have to. And I still enjoy games. What will kill love of games is if you work for a company that wants to work you 68 hours a week for 5, 6 years. That'll make you not want to look at video games for a while. Uh, but no, learning the technical aspects of it will actually give you a greater appreciation for it. But you
Yeah.
do have to, when you're playing a game for just pleasure, you need to just turn all that off and just have fun.
And I gotta say, like, I completely agree with you. Like, I don't have any actual industry experience yet, but like a lot of my college classes I took were geared towards video games and like learning how to make them. And it's like one of those things where like it definitely has helped me appreciate things and like learn, like understand like why certain things happen. Like in Dark Souls 2, which has seamless PvP, so it's basically like it's a peer-to-peer connection. It really helps to understand, like whenever I'm like, well, that stinks, I just got stabbed and the guy stabbed 180 degrees beside me. I'm like, but it was because of the net code. It's not actually anybody's fault that that just happened. It's just like when he stabbed, I was there on his side, and that's just the side that it picked this time. And it's like those sort of things help me understand like sometimes the issues, so it helps me not get as frustrated with them. And then like learning like
Yeah.
collision detection also helps with that. Like because like when I see something really silly happen, I'm like, oh, I know why that happened. It's because they use the hit detection where it only checks at the end of the movement, and so that's why that bullet just flew through 5 walls and hit me in the head and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
It's-
It helps me appreciate weird things about the games too.
You just look at it and go, stupid programmer, why didn't you?
Yeah, why didn't
Yeah,
you use
right.
the right kind of?
Darn
Why
it.
did you use the right hit detection? Come on, it's a bullet.
Some of those things are really, they're really hard. But
Yeah, it's because of, and it's like it always comes back to I'm like, but I need to remember because I took an OpenGL class, how ridiculously intensive the programs that we're running at this point are, and you have to get the efficiency back somewhere. Like you have to make up for it somewhere at some point, and it's just like, and so when I'm watching gameplay where like people like jump over to areas where they're not supposed to be walking and they fall through the world, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna fall through the world because they can't make everything collision, because then
Well,
you just
I mean, there's still good ways and bad ways to do it. So by the time a game ships, you have to pull it all together. So I don't think you should be able to fall through the world. That's not acceptable. It's still not
Well,
acceptable.
like the instances I'm talking about are in Dark Souls where they literally like they had to kill a enemy at a certain area, roll on top of them, and then somehow manage to jump onto an area that you would never actually know that you couldn't be able to jump onto otherwise. Like they're deliberately aiming to break the game to get through the game faster.
Right, right. Yeah.
But yeah, it interesting stuff. But yeah, that's the stuff that I've looked at and I'm like, oh well, I understand why that happened now. And it's just sort of it adds a level of fun for me at least to have some slight understanding of what's going on behind it.
Great. Yeah, some of those are they're not easy problems to solve, but that's where the challenges come from. And yep.
Awesome.
It
So,
just kinda rolls.
other than the chat saying that Jennifer says, "Hi, Randy," and you need to get back to work, and she cracks the whip. Uh, I would like to remind Jennifer that she is the one that recommended you for this. So, anyways, I go back to another question here. John has a couple of questions here that are pretty interesting. I'll start with the one that he asked over on the Gaming Tribe site. He was wondering what the toughest code language for you, like what the toughest code language was to learn, and what kept you driving. So,
Okay. Um, I I don't know that many languages. I know the ones that are really necessary. I mean, I've played with a lot, and I can go in and modify code if I need to. You can kind of pick up on how the syntax works. But I can't really say any of them were really hard, except the first one. I started out learning C from a book before I had a computer, and it didn't really make sense to me. And then I picked up the book on assembly language, and it immediately made sense. And once I got through the assembly language, then I went back to C, and then it was easy to learn. Um, but apart from that, it hasn't really been difficult to learn a new language. I can't think of any that have been difficult. But that was C didn't make sense until I learned assembly, and then it all made sense.
well,
I might be backwards.
we'll go ahead and go into the second half of this. He would also like to know what your first game you ever played was, and what was your first project overall.
Okay, first game I played was probably Pong on the Atari in my living room when I was a little kid, and I really liked it. But then I got into like racing motorcycles and BMX and moved on for a while. And then a friend of mine got a Nintendo, the first Nintendo, and I didn't have anything going on. I was over at his house, and he says, "Hey, me and my girlfriend are going to go out and to a party, and we'll be back in a few hours. If you want to, you can just sit here and play Super Mario Brothers for a while. Just lock the door when you leave." And this is probably like 10 o'clock at night, and they got back at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was still there playing. And they walked in the front door, and I felt like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar because I was still there like 6 hours later. So yeah, that was probably the first one I played after a while, and I got to where I could finish that game using all the jumps in 8 minutes.
Wow.
But so that's kind of where I got the start on that. And the first product I worked on was at Park Place Productions. After I learned assembly and they gave me a shot at it, they started me on a game called Off-Road, wouldn't you know? And it was for Electronic Arts, and so I started learning 68,000 assembly, and just when I was starting to figure it out and starting to make changes in the code, Electronic Arts decided that they didn't care how sharp this kid was. They didn't want any rookies on their game.
Oh,
And
geez.
so they kicked me off of it. I forgive you, A, it's all right. But I will kick your ass at my first opportunity. And then they put me on some PC games. And ultimately, without going into a long story, I wrote a Chinese checker game, wrote the AI, optimized the graphics engine for MS-DOS, all in assembly. And that was my first, project. And then the first project I actually worked on where I was paid to do it, and I developed the majority of it was not a game. It was a 3D floor plan program where you basically lay out the walls and the furniture and all the structure for a house in a top-down view where it looks like it's 2D, and then you would have been able to walk through it in 3D. And about the time I got to the 3D part, um, the company ran out of money, so I didn't
Ooh.
finish that one.
Hmm.
But the point there is, I kept persevering. I had a I had a string of canceled projects that would have, should have discouraged me, but I knew I wanted to move forward. I did not want to go back to being a machinist. So I just kept putting my head down, kept praying, kept moving forward. And eventually I got to be a lead on a project for Disney. And it's been good ever since.
Very
Awesome.
nice.
Uh, I've got one more question from the guests that we'll give you, and then we're going to give you a chance to kind of talk a little bit about your current projects with Animus Interactive and their first flagship product, Avalon Lords, um, that you're currently working on. So, Waffleopolis, because he's just a boss and has tons of questions.
It's
Uh,
Waffleopagus, not Huggus. Get it right, Tim.
oh,
Jeez.
okay, his actual name is Matt. For anyone who doesn't know, he actually graduated from the same college I'm at and is currently a programmer himself. Uh,
Cool.
but he would like you to talk a little bit about the sentiment that working inside the gaming industry is actually a pretty bad job, uh, with a few exceptions such as Valve or Bungie. And the working conditions are typically pretty bad when working at big companies, Electronic Arts or Activision, and typically end up having longer hours and poor working conditions.
Okay, so I think at one point it was really, really bad to the point where the wives of the developers at Electronic Arts sued Electronic Arts, and they got some changes made because they were seeing their husbands, boyfriends working mainly because there's women there too, but that's how the story went on this. Saw them basically working their working way too much and being taken advantage of. And so some changes happened. I don't remember what happened with the lawsuit, but essentially the hours went down. They went down to something closer to reasonable. It still happens today, and you can end up working way too many hours, especially at first. I mean, if you're just getting started, putting in some long hours is kind of paying your dues, and sometimes spending a lot of hours in a short amount of time, it's good for you as far as just learning how to concentrate without sleep, learning how to concentrate, under tight deadlines or when there's pressure. But ultimately, it's not sustainable. I'm at a point where I work hard. I'll work long hours when it's needed, but I will not work, 68 hours a week for on salary for very long. Um, if I'm paid by the hour, it's a little different. I think the other part of it is that so many people want to be in the industry that the companies kind of have the upper hand because if they put out a job listing, they're going to get hundreds of applications, and they can choose someone who's willing to put in those hours. And it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. What I've always heard is that if you're a programmer and you work outside of the video game industry, that you can make more money. But I'm not interested in writing a spreadsheet. I can't do it. I mean, it'd be okay, but when you're creating video games, you're using both sides of your brain, and that it's rewarding. Um, a lot of the companies I've worked for, I mean, Sony wasn't too bad. I mean, they had some crunches for sure, but it wasn't too bad. And uh, Disney, we put in some long hours, but we were on a really cool project, and unfortunately, it didn't release, but it was really going to be cool, and so most of us didn't mind as much there. Um, Other than that, I think the industry's matured a bit. I think a lot of that reputation comes from, 10, 15, 20 years ago. I don't think it's as bad as it once was.
Eh,
Um,
Awesome, awesome. I'm gonna cut you short just a little bit there, so we can start to wrap up a little bit. Waffle also agrees that programming a spreadsheet is very boring because that apparently is what he does. So,
uh, uh,
all right, so Randy, we're gonna give you a
it's
little
important
chance.
though.
We'll give you a little chance to talk a little bit about Animus Interactive in terms of the people you work with, or whatever you want to talk about in terms of the company that you're currently with, as well as their product that they're planning on releasing.
Great. So the first thing is just about about Animus Interactive is that the team is so passionate. I mean, most of us are gamers. Most have played a lot of MMOs, MMORTSs, MMORPGs, and they're passionate. I haven't played a lot of those type games only because I know that I would really like it and I would spend way too much time. So I play mainly, believe it or not, I like motocross games. But the team is so passionate. Everyone all across the board, from the art team, the programmers. I mean, we have David Wu. He was a CTO on Halo 4. He brings a lot of experience to the table. Just being able to develop a game of that scope. We have Tim Hayes, our AI scientist, who he spent many years writing AI for the military, for different video games, MMOs. Um, uh, he's considered one of the foremost, most experienced programmers for evolutionary computation. His code is in military applications, commercial applications. Plus, he's a gamer who's developed games ever since the Atari days. He has something like 80 published titles to his credit, and he's brilliant. He's doing all the AI for our game, um, uh, and he's very excited to do it because we've given him free reign, and he's going to be able to implement it the way it can be done. One thing he said on that is that typically when he writes AI for a game, he has to go back and dumb it down a little bit to give humans a chance, because he's not
Nice.
saying that arrogantly. It's just that the AI will be very, very good in our game. Um, yeah, Jennifer Ketzel, our COO, she's passionate about pretty much about life. Passionate about MMORTSs. She's been doing most of the game design along with our design team. Between all of them, the design is just really solid, really fun, really balanced. Looking at how to make sure that the game is fun for everyone and that it is absolutely not pay to win. And it is it is motivation. It motivates me just listening to being a part of the team. Um, yeah, so let me tell you about the game a little bit. It's called Avalon Lords. It's an MMO RTS. We have a seamless world. That the map is about the size of, they keep telling me it's like not
It's
of the UK,
yeah.
United Kingdom. Is that what it is?
I
Yeah.
think they say England, not because they're not including like Wales and all that. So
Well, I mean, according to a vote, Scotland might not be part of the UK soon, so it could be actually just England soon would be UK. I
Yeah,
wonder
it's
if they'll
still it's
keep
gonna
being
be
called UK.
No,
We'll
but
see.
it's a big map. We have uh, the environments are really great. Our lead artist um, is Frederick Larson. He worked on Battlefield 4. The environments he's creating are beautiful. From what everyone tells me, they're very conducive to doing battle. We're going to be able to have these huge battles in the game with pulling all the stops with the experience of Tim Hayes, myself, and David Wu, programming graphics for many years. We'll be able to have these huge battles where you have empires battling each other with thousands of troops on each side.
Sounds
Um,
exciting. Oh my god.
yeah, it's a medieval setting. Um, there's a lot of work to be done here. Gosh, I'm getting tongue tied here. Uh,
It's
it's
all
a really
good.
exciting game. We got greenlit on Steam, so we are coming to Steam. Um,
Heard about that.
check it out.
Yes.
AnimusInteractive.com or AvalonLords.com. Look us up on Facebook. Look us up on Steam. Um,
And Twitter.
and Twitter. Yes, thank you. I'm
uh,
more the developer, not so much the promoter.
yeah,
So,
that's more of Jennifer Ketzel's job, right? The as well as your community managers, y'all have some great ones picked out right there.
oh
Uh,
yes.
I want
Sorry, I forgot them. Sorry, I forgot them. Uh, Addie and Q, they're absolutely amazing. I can't believe they haven't already done this for like 20 games. They're just, they're great.
they're waiting for the right one, the one that would inspire them. Yeah, and Jennifer Ketzel also posted a little bit in chat saying that there's going to be some. You say it's medieval. Well, most people might just think just swords and arrows, but she also is inspired to put steampunk fantasy into the mix as well.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
Need my
I know
steampunk
Kat
fantasy
over there would
somewhere.
be definitely excited. Uh, and y'all are doing weekly streams. Mainly Frank, your CEO, does weekly streams. And Randy, you tried this past week and did a pretty good job uh, over on Twitch here. So you can go check them out on twitch.tv/Animus Interactive.
Hey,
Anything
The
else?
team is the team is amazing. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, for over 20 years, and I get up in the morning. I'm excited to get started. This game is going to be uh, it's going to be awesome. That's all I can say.
I'm so excited.
Team is awesome.
And I really want to re-implement that MMORTS, not pay to win.
Not pay to win.
Not pay to
Absolutely
win.
not.
See,
Based
now
on
you've got my attention.
the people that I've seen in and around this, it doesn't. Y'all have even posted tons and tons of different things, especially Addie over there and Q. They've been posting stuff about pay to win games, and Jennifer just all over the place with just laughing at other games that are pay to win. So some great stuff. All right, well, we're going to wrap up with our closing segment here, talking about a little bit of the things around Gaming Tribe that's happened this week, so that the rest of our community will know, and then we'll close out.
All right. The first thing I want to bring up for our GT specific or G Tribe specific segment is with the influx of new people and lots of new friends, and actually, Jose was it Jamie? I can never say that part of his name right. Anyway, he made a status that
Hey
yes.
me.
He made a status that voiced something that I've been noticing as well, that I'm also probably a little bit culprit for, is that there's a lot of unrelated statuses and images getting posted up. This is not Facebook, guys. There's Facebook for that. Spamming your activity just to get verified, one, isn't cool, because we will never force anyone to be verified. You don't even need to be verified to be in the giveaways unless it specifically states that. But majority of the biggest giveaways are not verified specific, so there's really no need for that. And for those of you that are verified, if you are consistently posting unrelated things, you put yourself at risk of losing your verified status. So make sure what you're posting is relevant. Try to stay on topic. I'll try to follow that more myself because I do know
Yeah,
that I
cat. Terrible
shut
example.
up, Joe. You love me anyway.
I don't post anything not gaming related.
That's why I never look at your profile. Anyway, back on topic. Other than that, congrats to our 5 verified member winners. Enjoy your Never Settle for Ever Gold code. Use it well. Give it away. Whatever you want, it's yours to do. Keep in mind there's another loot drop coming up. It's looming on the horizon. I, for one, am really excited for it. Giving early thanks to Logitech for sponsoring it. I can't wait to see what it is. Tim and I are going to try and do a live stream during the loot drop if we can catch the timing correct.
Depending on when it is, let me know and I'll try and join y'all for it.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Like I said, it's not a promise right now because we have no information other than soon. So we'll try. But that's there. And don't forget to set your favorite cover image. It's super easy. You go to edit profile, and if you scroll down, you'll see where it says favorite cover image. You select your sponsor, and it'll put a cover image on your profile. And keep in mind that when they change their cover photo, it changes on your profile as well. So mine is balls because when it says grab live by the balls is awesome, and I love play on words like that. And there was one thing else I wanted to say, and Tim, you say it because I know you remember what I wanted, but I forgot. I remember now. Never mind. Later this week, GT Insider and Mass Luminosity, we are announcing a special guest that will appear on the show on September 28th.
Oh yeah.
So that's all the information you're going to get. So make sure you tune in, find out what we're talking about. I'm sure everyone's going to absolutely love it. So be there, 28th at 3 p.m. Central, and I'll have a link up so you can check your local time to make sure, but it's a very, 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 very special episode.
Awesome, you guys. So I'm going to do a quick little thing. I'm going to put all the info that Kat, Joe, and myself has for this week. You can find us at any of these locations right here. Feel free to pause the stream or catch the YouTube video. But we're going to go ahead and close down without having to say it all.
We need to do shout-outs too, remember?
Oh, yes.
Because we actually had a few to do this week.
Big shout-outs. So
yeah.
We'll do the shout-outs while the thingy sits up over our face. My shout-out's going to be for Keegan. He is a magician with sound. I love him and everything he's linked me so far, and it's making my job of deciding very, very difficult. But major kudos to him. And if I ever get into game making, I'm snatching him up as quickly as I can.
Yeah, his music's pretty good. I like it.
Yes.
He can do a whole bunch of stuff. I'm gonna give a shout out to Gordon Jennings. And if anyone knows what this is, it's on his profile image. He's got it as a semicolon. And he just updated his Steam link over on his profile, so be sure to go add him over there. And he'll get to it when he's done playing a little Metroid Prime.
I've got 2 shout-outs. I've got one for, I'm gonna butcher his name, and I feel bad, but he posted specifically saying that'd be awesome to get shout-out because his birthday was yesterday, I believe. Anuj Shaharan, I think, is how you say his name.
That's how I say it in my head, so I'm going to
Okay,
it,
so just a shout-out to
either.
him. He's a really nice guy, you know, and I don't know how old he is now, but he had his birthday yesterday, so just a shout-out for that. And also a shout-out to everybody who came through my stream, or the GT stream 2 days ago, so on last Friday. I think we maxed out at around 21 viewers, which is 10 times more than what I normally get when I stream on my own channel. And hopefully we'll do it again sometime, and hopefully this time my birdie boyfriend won't, be a ghost. But yeah, so hopefully it'll be more successful next time, but from what I can tell, probably not. So be sure to join us if we... I think that, well, I'll actually have to talk to Tim about that later before I say anything about that. But hopefully streaming will happen more often on the GT channel for people to be watching. So this channel will become more active in the future.
All right, you guys. So once again, tune in this week. Midweek, Mass Luminosity is going to announce a very special guest that will be appearing on the 28th. As always, my friends, continue to game on. And Randy Johns, I want to thank you again for joining us. And look forward to seeing Avalon Lords come into fruition.
Thank you. It was fun.
This has been an absolutely awesome episode, and it'd be cool to have you on again sometime in the future for anything.
For release.
Ah? Yeah, that would be cool. We'll talk about it. Or actually, I'll harass Tim to talk to you guys about it.
Are we still on?
We are.
Yes.
Oh,
All right, guys. Y'all continue.